Back before I was a priest, I was a little kid. And I remember on this day that what I always remembered about Palm Sunday, Passion Sunday, was that the Mass was so long. Any of you kids out there think the same thing today? It's okay. How I entertained myself was by taking the palms that they given me and trying to tickle the ear of my brother or my parents. So if you get bored, there's an idea for you. I don't know how it's going to go for you, but what the heck. It's certainly what I'd be doing if I were sitting in your spots, okay? Some of you know that I sometimes, whenever I'm reading the Passion, and I took a piece last year, but I always tried to, even as a small kid, figure out what the people in the story were experiencing and what they were going through. And so every year when this comes along, I sometimes pick one particular character in the story to kind of focus on. But this year, something different happened to me. I didn't pick a person, I picked a thing. And the thing in the scriptures today, in this Gospel of Matthew, that fascinated me the most was the veil of the sanctuary, the veil in the temple. You see, that veil separated the Holy of Holies from the rest of the world. And what the scriptures tell us is that when Jesus died, that thin veil got split from top to bottom. From top to bottom, it was split. And suddenly there, because of the person of Jesus, there was no longer a divider between the Holy of Holies and the rest of the world. There was no longer a divider between heaven and earth. There was no longer a divider between the holy and the profane, our regular way of doing things in the world. There were no dividers because Jesus' death ripped that in two, and from heaven down to earth, God rips open that veil so that we know beyond a question of a doubt that God has come to dwell with us. In the person of Jesus, heaven is no longer out there somewhere, but truly heaven is here because Jesus came to dwell with us. Many times on this week that we celebrate, we begin the week with a celebration of the Passion, okay? We celebrate and we read one of the readings. And in this reading today, Jesus in Matthew, Mark, and Luke seems very human. He's going to be very different from the Jesus that we see and hear from on Good Friday from the Gospel of John. Today, we see Jesus' anguish. We see Jesus praying, Father, please let this cup pass me by, but if it can't, then your will be done. We see him cry out from the cross in his desolation, my God, why have you forsaken me? Because basically what he was saying to God was, I've done and I've tried to do all this time. I've come here and I've tried to do your will. Why is this now happening to me? And so today, as we look at Jesus and his death and his desolation, the only thing we can do is what those faithful followers at the tomb did. They gathered up his body. They cradled it as best they could. They tried to do him reverence, and they buried him in the tomb. But as we wait now for the rest of this week to unfold for us, as we sit at the tomb like those two Marys, as we sit at the tomb, maybe perhaps as one of the centurions or the guards, wondering what's supposed to happen, as we do those things, we cannot take our focus off of Jesus, because Jesus is the one, because of his actions, who shows us how to live faith. Faith doesn't mean getting what you want. Faith doesn't mean that life is going to be easy. Faith means that we understand and we believe that no matter what happens to us in our lives, God is here with us. He is with us. And so when we're in our times of death and desolation, Christ is with us. When we're in our time of feeling abandoned by God, Christ is with us. When we are stuck in the cold and the dark of the tomb, Christ is with us. And so today, as we celebrate the beginning of this week, let's remember that from heaven down to earth, from our hearts and our heads down to the tips of our toes, the veil has been torn in two. And God is not somewhere else, but God is with us in the person of Jesus.